Salutations, Mika, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Vergil's second Ecloga. This is going to be lines 51 through 55. Sorry about Frigius Calamitous back there. Can't do anything about it. But first, last time in Vergil's second Ecloga. Maybe by the time I reach the end of this, it'll turn off. But then, Fridge has been known to go on for half an hour? Longer? Like the air conditioner around here? Sometimes it just suddenly jumps up to, hey, I think it's going to be 76 degrees. So I'll be cooling for eternity. And I don't know how it happens. Well, there we have it. I don't have the rubric page. You're familiar enough with that by now, I would hope. So let's go ahead and get started without it. Ipse ego caena legam tenera languine mala castaneasque nunces mea quas amarilis amabat Adam cerea pruna honos erit huic quoque pomo et vos o lauri carpam et te proxima merte sic positae quoniam suavis miscetes odores. And there we have that. Our very first word is a it's a subject referential. I forget what they're called, but we would translate that self. So with ego, we know it's going to be myself. So I, myself, he's being very emphatic. He's turning from the thing that the nymphs will do for Alexis to what he, Corydon, will do. And this is going to be putting together a fruit and flower basket, apparently. So looking for our verb. Kana doesn't work, but here we have legam. Am right there for a first person singular ending. So lego, legere, so it's a third conjugation. Could be subjunctive or it could be future. We don't have any indicator that we have a subjunctive going on here, and he's just moving on into the next list of the things that are going to be done. In this case, praising the produce of the land. But for the sake of Alexis, the nymphs have done their thing, and now Corydon says, I will do this. So I'm going to go with future. So active and indicative, and lego in Latin means pick out, pluck out, to read if you have a book nearby, but in this case it's going to be pick out. And then we want to have a direct object for that. Kana, if it were a neuter plural, would work. Tenera, if it were neuter plural, would work. Both of those are adjectives. And then lanugine and mala, those are our two nouns. Mala, unless you are more familiar with this type of writing, you would be tempted to think this is the word for evil, the adjective for evil. But no, this is actually our malum, our fruit word, or one of many fruit words, as we'll see. So languine, this comes from lanugo, lanuginis. So with that e there, we know this has to be an ablative singular, and it is feminine. And either kana or tenera would go with languine. Kana means white, and then tenera means soft or tender, almost as it looks. So this is going to be related to candidus, but in this case, slightly different form. It has other meanings that have to do with like liquids, so foamy, frothy. But languine is wool or a downy substance, a peach fuzz. So yeah, that doesn't work. As for picking which of those two, well, we have to ask, well, what are these things? Mala, as our fruit, malum, mali, that a would have to be the object of the verb, so accusative, plural, neuter, and again, either of these could go with it. The fruit is going to have either the white applied to it or the tender applied to it, whereas woolly substance, we already know that's tender, whereas the tenderness of a fruit is an important quality. The color of the fruit, not so much. And then, what is a mala? In this case, the green and yellow suggest that it's going to be a quince, which is a yellow color, but it's got fuzz. So rather than kana modifying mala, tenera makes more sense there, in which case kana goes with languine. And then, of course, we have our interspersed pattern for A, C, B, A, B, which is how Vergil likes to write. Should actually probably write that up. And that really should be the primary factor for picking which one. So tenera, pulling over to mala, kana, over to this hard to pronounce word. And then we're not at the end of the clause, so I'm going to go ahead and cut down here. Castaneas, AS right there for an accusative plural neuter. And this is a word for chestnuts. Que is linking this as another object with mala. And then nukes from nukes, nuts, which for some reason Perseus forgot about. I wanted to confirm the noun gender of it. Nukes is feminine, just like castaneas. It doesn't have a conjunction, so it could be that nukes is just modifying this, because we could read this as chestnut tree rather than just chestnuts. So we have chestnut nuts. We don't need to say that, but that's what Vergil decided. So another accusative, plural, feminine. Oh, why did I write neuter there? There we go, that's right. And now I can write this all out. So join you back in a moment. There we go. I don't think I've ever eaten a quince, so curious. Mea quas with that AS is going to refer back to castaneas, nukes. Pull that back here. An accusative, plural, feminine. Mea with that A right there is going to be nominative, singular, feminine with amarilis. And then amabat as a verb, third, singular, imperfect, active, and indicative. And this would be with the like durative sense. Which chestnuts, my amaryllis, in quotes, used to love, and of course still loves. That's a load of nonsense right there. Moving on, we get our next verb immediately with an, so this could be another future or it could be a subjunctive. We don't need a subjunctive. We haven't had one previously. I don't know why we would bring one in now. Coridon is still trying to convince Alexis to like him. So putting a thing in an action for Alexis's benefit into a hypothetical does not help his argument. So future again. Keria pruna. Pruna is our direct object here. It's neuter with that A, so accusative, plural, with keria modifying it. There is it's like a carella, I think. Something similar to carella. It's like the wax tablet that they would write notes on. So this is our adjective for waxen, waxy, wax-colored. And that could refer to the color of the prunes, kind of dark, when they always look waxy, but at least in the West, things look waxy because they're covered in a tiny layer of wax to protect them from bugs and in shipping. But that's not what's going on here. Then we get to our next clause, honos, os right there, is the less common, I guess that's what Perseus claims, the less common form of honor. It is a nominative, singular, masculine nominative, because that's the form honos appears in from the Greek version of it, and erit needs a nominative. I think Cicero uses the honos form in one of his writings, but almost everybody else uses honor. Huic is our adverb telling us a place where, quoque also, and then pomo with that o right there is going to be a dative or ablative singular, and this is neuter. And pomo can stand for a grape. It can stand for that mushroom, the truffle. It can mean just generic fruit tree or just generically another fruit. Since we have quinces and chestnuts, I'm going to go with probably grape. But why is it the dative or ablative? And why do we have honor? Well, I think in this case, this is a declarative statement. There will be honor here also. And then dative for dative of reference, rather than there will be honor with a grape, which makes a little bit less sense. But instead what he's saying is he's going to take grapes and he's going to place them also in this arrangement in a place of honor. The grapes are not being neglected in this basket of the country's beautiful and tasty produce. So I've added in the plural there as the singular form for the collective, like a bunch of grapes. At vos, this could be nominative or accusative plural. So we want to take a look at our verb past o lauri, which we have in carpam. It's going to be the same form as these two, so I'm not going to bother parsing that again. And carpam wants to take a direct object. And I'm seeing that we have et and te being an accusative, vos also as accusative, makes sense. Accusative plural, and that's going to be referring to o lauri, o being our vocative indicator, and that I right there just telling us vocative plural, and well, I of course is going to be masculine. And I'll get to the importance of this word in a moment, but this is like the bay tree or the laurel tree. Carpam, I will pluck, I will seize. Et te, accusative, singular. Te is going to be referring to proxima myrte. Sometimes proxima is the word that we have here. Sometimes it's spelled with a U, as here. There are versions of the text. I think the version that Perseus has the I, but I went with green and yellow. And then myrte can also be spelled with a U. And normally, myrte is myrtum, for a neuter noun. But as you can see, proxima with that A, and especially with te, as it's referent, has to be singular, and therefore has to be feminine. But with that E ending, we've got another vocative singular. In this case, it's going to be feminine. E has to be a US ending. So this has got to be proxima myrtus in the nominative, which is, as far as I'm aware, not a normal form of myrtum or mutum, murtum, however you would pronounce that. But I didn't see too many examples of it. So there's that. Vocative for both of these. Why vocative? Why the laurel tree or the bay tree, and why the myrtle tree? Well, we have Apollo. His tree is the laurus. And then we have Venus. Her tree is the myrtus or myrtum, however it's properly spelled. So Corydon is actually calling upon Apollo and upon Venus to be his aides here. Also saying that he's going to be plucking the produce from them, which I think is just the enormous, beautiful flower. And then bay leaves? I don't know. Maybe. But I'm going to go ahead and write that out before we get to our final line. Moving on to our last line, thus positai. I have AE right there from pono, ponere, posui. No, not, yeah, posui, positum. AE for feminine plural, myrtle as the object right there. But we only have one myrtle. Maybe the AE is referring to the entirety of what we have. So we've got feminine, well, no, we got neuter malums. We've got feminine chestnuts. Then we've got neuter plums. And we have neuter grape. We have masculine bay leaves and feminine myrtle flowers. Myrtle leaves. I don't know which you would pick. I don't know what a myrtle tree is, honestly. At least not for sure. So, with all of that gathered together, I would think masculine would be the normal form, or the right form that we've put positai in, so it should be positi. But we've got all these neuters, and perhaps feminine outweighs neuter when we're talking about groups, and I don't know. So I don't see often groups of neuter and feminine things gathered together in my reading. So maybe it's just referring to the myrtle and the feminine elements of this. I'm not sure. Oh, obvious other option. Positai is referring to odores. Except no, odores is masculine. So that can't be it either. So I'm going to say it's just referring to the contents of the basket, which means we might have the word res intended here. Sic res positai, res being feminine. It's just the generic things. That might be what's going on. A pure guess there, but this is nominative plural. Feminine, perfect, passive, participle. Quoniam, because, sua, wis, is right there is our ending. This could be our accusative plural. Alternative for the es, and taking a look at odores, es right there. That seems to match. Miscetis, tis as our ending. This is misceo, miscere, mixi, mixtum, I think are the forms. So with that e, second conjugation, this is present tense, second person plural. And since we already have the vocative with lauri and myrti, I think he's referring to them. It makes me really confused about that. But you myrtle trees and bay trees, or you having been positioned to things, yeah, it's got to be the position, the arrangement itself. So thus, and the quoniam is explaining, I think, why positai, why have they been placed? They've been arranged in such a way so that, because you all mix sua, vis, odores, odores masculine, I already said, accusative, plural, odors, fragrances, but specifically sweet ones. They've been put together in such a way that there is a very sweet fragrance. So there we have through line 55. Let's take a look at it in its own context. I myself will pick tender fruits or quinces with white down, and chestnut nuts, which my Amaryllis used to love. I will add waxen plums. Honor will be also here for grape, like clump of grapes. And you, O bay trees, I will pluck, and you, nearest myrtle, thus having been placed, because you mingle sweet fragrances. It's a very nice paragraph there. Delightful to read. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. Wale.